don't know if you know, but at King's College, I was studying the psychology of mobilisation, otherwise known as how to cause trouble, right? And I spent all my time not at King's College. I spent all my time with campaigns. So I go to a campaign, and I was a little bit like stroppy in those days. I sort of go like, oh, you've got to follow me.
Oh, you've really changed.
Yeah,
Roger.
well, I was a little bit overly stroppy, let's put it like that. But but I was going to campaigns and I had a theory and then I wanted to see whether it worked. For the first 2 years, I had this traditional 19th century idea, which is common on the left and the right, that you go with a proposition, people cognitively and rationally assess it, and then they decide to act. And it's rubbish, right? Which doesn't mean you want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, which is a theme I want to sort of communicate in this interview. It's not like when I criticize something, I'm not saying you destroy it, it has no place. So like rationality has a place, obviously, because we make decisions on the basis of pros and cons, don't we? But there's this fundamental realization, which is potentially the biggest discovery of social science, I would say, in the last 50 years. It sounds a little bit dramatic, but I think it is, which is the human is not rational, right? It's not primarily rational. And, we've just got this big inheritance, with neoliberalism and sort of vulgar Marxism, it's all about interest and all this sort of stuff. That's not how it works. How it works is people feel empowered through the participation of being attended to, being recognised. What I would call like love, right? Which is a bit of a controversial word, but that's what I think the essence of it is. Like you're born, you get love, you go through your life, you want to love, and when you die, someone has to love you. This is what we need. So it's you could use another word like connectivity, but it's a bit of a horrible word.
No, but
you see what
I'm
I mean?
with you.
So what people respond to is, it doesn't really matter what someone's saying. It does matter to a certain extent, obviously, but what the fundamental thing is someone attending to you. And of course, this is the big dynamic in fascism, is someone saying, you're great, I'm going to pursue your interests, follow me.
I'm going to lift you up. I'm going to lift you up
all
from
this,
the dirt.
Yes, all this like emotionality, right? And what the left does is we want, 2 pence on tax. You've heard this criticism of left, it's been going on for 200 years, right? Which is the left doesn't get it. The French Revolution, it was all like super rational. Why didn't people want it? Because Catholicism was just more sexy. It was like gay, you had the ritual, it had the costumes, it had the, it had the big metaphysics, right? And what did the left do? Left had, well, you won't need to work so long, which was obviously important, but
also I'd argue that there are certain concepts. We were actually talking about this before you came in, because there's this amazing album by a singer called Rosalia, and it makes me want to be Catholic. Even though I'm Muslim, I'm like, oh God, I'm thinking of converting for aesthetic reasons. And one of the things that I think that the left has really lost is that we've got the language of accountability, but not the language of forgiveness. And there is something that we've been shaped by a particular kind of secularism and also a particular logic of neoliberalism that makes other people really disposable. So when you're talking about love, I'd also say we're talking about acceptance of people, not treating people as disposable. You can't just throw them away. And you're also talking about the importance of forgiveness, that we take you as you are.
We've got about 3 themes going, all of which are really important. So let me just, I'm just trying to present something that's coherent, you see what I mean? So let's just stick with what motivates people for the moment, right? So we've got this general idea that a recognition stroke love is what basically gets people out of bed in the morning, right? So that gets concretized in the act of listening. So what I discovered, as I've just said a minute ago, is, or rediscovered, obviously, right? Because people, I'm just standing on the shoulders of giants, just for the record, right? I'm not really saying anything original. Is that once you split people into small groups, the duty of small groups is more people can speak. It's just physics, right? You've got a certain amount of time, and you've got a smaller number of people. And when people start talking, then they get happy. They cheer up, and then they talk more. Well, if they don't talk at all, they get more and more miserable, right? It's very deterministic, and this is something I observed over and over again. So that's how, when we start designing Extinction Rebellion, what have you, for me, like, this was a central mechanism. As you may know, we did 1,000 public meetings, but not in a single public meeting did we do a Q&A, right? Because Q&As are death, for a bunch of reasons I can go into. What we always did is split people up into groups, and then everyone gets excited. And then everyone signs up to do stuff, because so you have the speech, you have the breakout groups, and then you have 3 pathways to action. And that's the basic form of effective mobilization.